Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Digging Deeper moment number 156. The mission of our Digging Deeper moments is to take God's Word to God's world, and we are so glad that you've joined us, and we hope that before watching this lesson, you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will help us to spread messages like this to others. Last week in our study of Genesis 1:2, we saw that Genesis 1:2 begins with the words, "and the earth," which means the emphasis of verse 2 is on the earth at the time when God created it in verse 1. The subject of verse 1 is God. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the subject of verse 2 is the earth, not the heavens and the earth. The subject has changed. Verse 2 is speaking of the earth when it was created. In Hebrew, verse 2 begins with the word wa-ha-aretz and literally means "and the earth." This is followed by the second word in this verse, which is hayata, which means was. This word is in what they call the kal katal, or perfect tense, which means it's a completed action. And while some Bibles put a footnote on verse 2 stating this word can mean became, we saw last week that it cannot mean that here because it's a circumstantial noun clause. And for more, you can go back to last week's message. This, however, this point is confirmed by the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Hebrew text, which dates back to around 200 BC. When it translates the Hebrew, it uses the word ami to translate the Hebrew word hayata, which means was. If the translator had wanted to say the earth became, they would have used the Greek word ginomai, but they didn't. Now I know this is a bit technical, but I share it with you because it shows that these early translators understood Genesis 1:2 to be saying that the earth was, did not become, when God originally created it. So both the Hebrew and the Greek of Genesis 1, chapter 1, verses 1, verse 2 state, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth when it was created, it was." And what was it? It was formless and void. The Hebrew word for this is tohu wa bohu. Now notice these words sound alike. Tohu means formless or empty or a wasteland. Wa bohu is a composite word, and it has the prefix "and," which is the wa sound, and the word bohu, which means empty. When we put this together with Genesis 1:1, we get this. In the beginning, the first thing God created was the heavens and the earth, when God first created it, it was unformed and unfilled. Simply put, when God created the heavens and the earth was unfinished. There was a lot more work to be done, and this work was done during the rest of the creation week, which is recorded for us in Genesis 1, verse 3 through verse 31. Now, the Bible never directly states that the heavens were unfilled and unfinished when created, but this is clearly inferred by what happens in the rest of chapter 1. Verse 2, however, does state emphatically that the earth was unformed, unfilled, and unfinished when created. So while the heavens and the earth were the first things God created in the beginning of day 1 of the creation week, which is recorded in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, they were not finished till after the 6th day of creation, in Genesis 2:1, which states, "Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished." Notice how Genesis 1:1 begins with talking about the creation of the heavens and the earth in an unformed, unfilled fashion, and then Genesis 2:1 speaks of the finishing of the heavens and the earth. This is because Moses wants us to know that the heavens and the earth were the first thing God created on day 1 of the creation week, but they were not completed or completely finished until after day 6. Get it? Got it? Good. So, in Genesis 1:1, we see that God created the heavens and the earth, and in verse 2, we see that God created the earth unformed, unfilled, and unfinished. And in Genesis 1:3 through 31, we see God finishes the creation of the heavens and the earth by forming and filling the earth, and also by filling the heavens. Now, getting back to Genesis 1:2. Genesis 1:2 is actually something called a parenthetical verse. It's like a parenthesis in a sentence. For instance, the sentence, "Bill went to the store because he ran out of milk to buy milk." The clause, "because he ran out of milk," explains why Bill had to go to the store in the first place, but you could drop this parenthesis and still have a complete sentence. Bill went to the store to buy milk. That's a complete sentence. But if we say it this way, we don't know why he went to the store to buy milk. He could have wanted more milk. He could have given the milk he had away. But the parenthesis tells us why he went to the store to buy milk. He ran out. And this is exactly what Genesis 1:2, verse 2 of Genesis chapter 1 is telling us. If you drop verse 2 and you read it without verse 2, here's what it says. In verse 1, Genesis 1:1, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." Skip verse 2. Verse 3, "Then God said, 'Let there be light.'" Now verse 2 explains why he created light in verse 3. because the earth was unformed, unfilled, unfinished, and according to verse 2, it was dark. So in verse 3, God turned the lights on. And this is where we'll pick it up next week. If this lesson helped you, please share it with a friend, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or check out our Sunday morning live podcast on either app or Spotify. And if you'd like to partner with us as we take God's Word to God's world, you can do so by going to our website and clicking the How to Give tab. I hope to see you next week.